Oh, we have been here with the Orioles before, where they've had a couple amazing comeback wins that did not lead to positive momentum. And then there was Friday night when they absolutely annihilated the Red Sox, hit 6 home runs, 20 hits, 10 runs, and then didn't score much the rest of the weekend. So it's disappointing, to say the least. Series loss for the Orioles to the Red Sox. They lose 2 out of 3. And now the last place Red Sox guys are only 2 games behind the Orioles, who are getting further and further away from first place. The Yankees have hit a good run here. And as of Sunday game time, the Orioles were already 5 behind. Yankees losing at last check, so maybe it'll stay that way. What's your take, guys? What a weekend. Friday night looked so positive and so uplifting and like it might carry to something better, and then it didn't. What do you say, Brad?
Yeah, I mean, it seems to be the theme. It seems to be the theme of the season to this point. We've had this same conversation multiple times. You get a big first game win, and seems like it's going to lead to something bigger. And then Saturday was just, I mean, they got kind of bamboozled there in the second inning and fell way behind, and then it just got ugly there at the end. But yeah, you would think that win Friday was just the offense was gonna get going, the starting pitching was gonna start rolling, and unfortunately, the last 2 games it kind of did the opposite of where you thought it was going to go, and they see themselves losing another series.
Yeah, it's definitely disappointing, Steve, because Friday went so well for this club, man. And for the first time, they were able to put up a crooked number in the first inning, scoring 4 runs. They just jumped all over Brian Bayo. They hit 6 home runs, and this was a struggling club coming in, and you thought that they were going to build off of it. And like we were saying Wednesday, I was so interested in seeing how this starting rotation would fare this week, because you went against 2 struggling offenses, the Red Sox in town. And how is Trevor Rogers going to bounce back after back-to-back poor outings? Well, he didn't even make it out of the second inning, and it was just an ugly game yesterday. And today, Steve, it was just frustrating in the fact that you only have one at-bat with a runner in scoring position today. The offense just couldn't really get going, and you end up losing a series, and it kind of furthers this disappointing start to the season.
4 runs and 12 hits total after Friday night. That's just not going to get it done. It's interesting because we keep saying, sort of message to the fans, that they're kind of feeling out the season, that they'll get on a roll here, things will turn. But the more it doesn't happen after some good wins, the more you start to feel like it's going to go this way all year. Now, we're not even 30 games in, so there's 130 plus to go. This too may pass, but it's feeling like until it does, we can't really say it's going to.
Yeah, and I think you don't know, or we're not getting the results we want to see, and you just don't know when it's going to turn. And I feel like it's been 5 or 6 series in a row now where we're just waiting for the offense to just start clicking and the starting pitching to get going, like we've talked about. And it's just, you just wonder how long it's going to continue going this way. And this weekend they finally start hitting home runs, but they can't get base runners on. So it just kind of seems like they get one aspect of the offense going, and then the other aspect kind of just falls off, and they can't get enough runs to score. And the starting pitching yesterday with Trevor Rogers, he was so close to getting out of that inning. He had 2 strikes on multiple batters there and just couldn't get that final pitch to end that inning, and it kind of just led to bad things from there. So, like you said, it just seems like it's so close. You think it's going to turn, but here we are still kind of talking about another series loss.
Yeah, and Steve, you brought up the point during one of the episodes last week that this was a pivotal stretch for this club right now. That the Red Sox were struggling coming in. The Astros come to town beginning on Tuesday. They've gotten off to a pretty rough start to the season as well. But then the schedule really turns up. You head to the Bronx to take on the Yankees. You play 2 series against them in a 12-day span, I believe. So it's just been frustrating because you know the potential that a lot of these players have, that it's just not happening. Gunnar, he homered again today, but his season, it's almost been a homer or a strikeout, almost like a 2-result type of thing for him. Pete, it was another 0 for him. It's still waiting for him to get going. And the starting rotation as well. It has to be better. And Brad, you bring up a point, and I feel like this has been an issue for a lot of guys. Kyle Bradish today, the leadoff guy, got on in 4 consecutive innings for him. Trevor Rogers not being able to put away guys. He's really struggled with 2 strikes. He's really struggled with 2 outs. And, and Kramer going to the IL now and inserting Brandon Young. So the depth has already been tested with this starting rotation early on in the season.
Yeah, it has. It's been tested, and it's going to continue to be tested. It's kind of just where the state of baseball is right now, that you need to have more than 5 arms, and they've obviously gone through 7 or 8 already. You hope that's all they're going to need from here on out, but I just want to see them get going, get on a roll, and kind of pass the ball to the next guy, and just put together some quality starts to give this offense a chance to get ahead. And then, like we keep saying, just get this bullpen with a lead. I'm dying to see them have consecutive games with a small lead and really see what these guys are made of down there, because they have the potential to be a really, really strong unit.
So, Birdland, there's plenty of time for that to happen. But each time it doesn't happen, the concern level, I guess, gets ratcheted up a little. And if you think about this weekend, guys, such a great win Friday, great crowd, all of that. Rogers goes on the mound, followed by Bradish. Now you're looking at a big weekend, but didn't happen. What's the concern level now? After today's game, you have Rogers' record for the year is 2-3, 4.75. Bradish, after today, gives up 3 runs in 5 innings, 1-3, 4.20. I mean, if that's what it's going to be, it's going to be a tough year for the Orioles, because they're counting on so much better from those guys. And I'm not putting it on just 2 men, obviously. So many more are involved here, but we're expecting more from those 2.
Brad, I want to start with Trevor Rogers, because I'm on his baseball reference page, and I'm looking for things that really jump out to me. And there's a couple of things. He's been dominant against left-handed bats this year. They're hitting just .091, but righties, they're finding a lot of success off him right now. 323 batting average. You can look at the 7 through 9 hitters are doing the most damage against Trevor Rogers, which is very surprising. They're hitting 364 and 887 OPS. That's the highest out of any of the thirds of the lineup. But the big thing that sticks out to me that we touched on a little bit, Brad, when he gets opposing batters to 2 strikes, they're hitting 317 off of him. He's just not able to put away guys, and he's getting ahead. But 317 batting average with 2 strikes against Trevor Rogers, it's shocking.
Yeah, that really is a shocking number when you get the 2 strikes and you know how good he is and how much success he's had here recently. It's shocking to hear it out loud. You can read it, but when you think about 317 you're probably looking at under 100 with 2 strikes is the normal batting average in the major league. So, yeah, just not able to put these guys away. I think it's a combination of just not having as sharp of breaking ball stuff right now, and just kind of, I don't know, just these guys are willing to kind of take the pitches that are given to him. And I think we've talked about this with the rotation as a whole, but the fastball command has just been off. It's been off, not with just Bradish and Rogers, but it seems to be ball one a lot watching these games. And the difference of the 0-1 to 1-0 is told throughout baseball, and everybody knows it. It's about a 200 or 300 point difference between those 2 numbers. And there's just way too many 1-0 starts to these counts. And when you finally get back in these counts, you're having to make more pitches. So when they get to 2 strikes, they've seen more pitches, and maybe that has something to do with it. It's hard to pinpoint anything, because that really is a shocking number to hear.
And if you're looking for a reason for optimism when it comes to Trevor Rogers, I saw this stat on Twitter heading into today. Trevor Rogers has gotten 68 chases in his last 300 pitches, which is the second most by a starting pitcher in the majors over the last 300 pitches span for all of these guys. The chase rate is still high for him. He's not getting hit hard. It's just failing to close out the at-bats. It's failing to close out innings, because batters with 2 outs against him, they're hitting 400 off of him. He's given up 9 runs with 2 outs, which is the most as well. And then you get to the Bradish of it all, Brad, and the walks reared its ugly head again today. He had 4 walks, I think, in the first 4 innings. A lot of the leadoff men were getting on. It just seems like he's pitching from behind way too often.
Yeah, today to me that was the biggest thing. Just 1-0 to almost every single hitter. It seemed like, I know it wasn't every single one, but 1-0 to all these guys, and just kind of, they seemed to me like bad misses. It wasn't just just missing the zone. It was balls down in the dirt on his breaking ball, and his two-seamer just had so much run on it that it really wasn't even competitive pitches to get to the 1-0 count. So I think when you're a hitter, you can really start to zero in on an area where you think the pitch is going to come from, and if you don't see it there, you just leave it because you know it's going to be a ball. And you can only run away from that so often before you're going to get burned on it. And that's what happened there later in his outing. He got behind on these guys, and they finally made him pay for his mistakes. He got out of the few scenarios early on in the game, but it's just so hard to pitch out of those situations your entire start.
Getting back to Rogers for a second. After the game Saturday, Craig Albertaz said his fastball shape is not where it usually is. What do you make of that comment, Brad? And if he gets the shape he wants, is that the fix here? What do you think Albertaz? Again, none of the three of us have talked at length to the skipper to get a detailed explanation of exactly what he meant. But what do you read into that sentence?
Yeah, I think it's just starting in a different spot. To me, that's kind of what I hear. And if someone came to me and said my shape looked different, it just means that it's starting in a different spot than he's used to. And I think the hitters are able to recognize it better. And I think by his shape not being where he wants it to be, I think that's why he's unable to get these swings and miss with two strikes, because they're almost able to like eliminate the fastball if it's coming out a different spot that it normally does. In a perfect world, you want all your pitches to come out of that same exact slot. And if it's coming out a different spot, you can kind of eliminate the fastball. And from there, you know what his breaking balls and off speed are going to do. So if you're able to eliminate one pitch, these hitters are so good these days that they're able to just pick it up so fast. So I think that's kind of what he meant. It's starting in a different spot, or it looks different. And the hitters, when they pick that up, they're ready to pounce on it early and often in those counts.
Is that an easy fix for a pitcher, or hard, or is it hard for you to know that because maybe 20 different guys, we might have 20 different answers?
Yeah, I think it's kind of hard to tell. It's a guy-to-guy thing, but these guys now are so good at going on the TrackMan or whatever technology they have and figuring out these things so quick. So I think for him, it's going to be an easier fix than it would have been for me, because I didn't know what a lot of that stuff meant. So for me, it was a little bit harder. But I think these guys, they practice with it so much and they're able to make adjustments on the fly that I think he'll be able to make the adjustment. And it should be a fairly easy one, especially with the fastball. I think if it was a different pitch, maybe that's a different story. But for me, I think the fastball is the easiest fix.
I do want to get back to the point you brought up there, Brad, because I do wonder, and I'm sure that that's very player by player specific when it comes to all of these advanced numbers and the analytics, where can that be paralysis by analysis at some points where it's too much information? Look, I'm sure some guys, they want everything they can get on all of these guys, but can that be overwhelming at times for a pitcher?
I think so. For me, towards the end of my career, it just seemed like there were so many numbers. It's kind of like, just let me go out there and get ahead of this guy and try to get to my off speed. Like, the game hasn't changed that much, but there's a lot of guys that want that stuff now. And they really, I mean, they train off of it. They pitch off of it. They get their scouting reports off of it. So it really is a guy-to-guy thing. But if you want something, they have it. And I think that is the advantage of it all. But I agree. I think at times it can be a little bit too much to where you kind of freeze out there and you kind of get away from doing what you know how to do best.
So here's my amateur analysis, very much amateur analysis of Kyle Bradish, as someone who hasn't pitched since Little League and has the expertise of Brad, but been around the game a lot. When I watch Bradish from the center field camera, I see him throw pitches that I go, oh, there he is. That's the elite guy we look. And others that don't have that. And a word I would use is bite or finish on some of these pitches, like the slider that got hit out today. A Bradish slider that has the finish and the bite, he's not going to get to that, especially if he keeps it low in the zone. But that one just kind of flattened out. Am I on to anything here? And if I'm not, feel free to call me crazy. It wouldn't be the first time.
No, I think, Steve, his mechanics seem a little inconsistent right now. It kind of seems like the fastball come in is so out of whack for him and what he's used to that I think it's kind of skewing everything just a little bit, where everything's just a little bit off. Like you said, that slider didn't finish like it always does. And I think it has a lot to do with his fastball command just kind of being all over the place. His four seam is cutting extra. It seems like the two seam is running extra, and he just doesn't have the bite, like you're saying, on the pitches. And I think it could just be, like I said, every guy has a different key of what they're trying to do. So I don't know if that is, but I think you're onto something with that. I think something is just a little bit off, and he finds it every 3 or 4 pitches, as opposed to 4 out of 4 pitches or 5 out of 5 pitches. It just seems to be a little bit off, and he's working hard on it. And I think they're trying to get better, but it's, once you get out in the game, it speeds up fast on you, and it can get away really quick, like we've seen in a couple of these outings.
Much of this, Brad, do you think is him coming off the Tommy John surgery? Because he was able to get a handful of starts or so, a little bit more than that last year at the end of last season, and pitched to a great success. He really did. But how much do you think it is some of the surgery coming off of that?
Yeah, I think it's definitely a huge part of it. April to me was always the toughest month to get into a rhythm, because you don't have enough to draw back on. When you get to July, you have enough outings under your belt that, like, okay, 1 outing, 2 outings isn't going to kill you. You have enough to draw back on. Okay, this is what I'm trying to do. That's what I'm trying to do. I think right now he's probably frustrated. He's trying to do everything he can to get back to the pitcher that he knows he is. And a lot of that's coming off the injury. It's tough to do it early. And I think his lack of success here to start the season is really just kind of frustrating. And I think he's out there trying to get it. And I think he sees slivers of it there. He just really wants to piece it together and do the outings that we're used to seeing Kyle Bradish have.
Yeah, he spoiled us when he came back last year. He was instantly good.
Yeah.
And it was like, well, where are the ups and downs coming off Tommy John? It was all ups. So now we're seeing that. And I've seen enough pitchers coming back from Tommy John that I've watched him pitch, and it's like, wow, he's fully back. And the next start, he's terrible. And it's this roller coaster you ride for a time. Maybe he's riding it right now. But again, we're seeing enough from him that it's going to kick in. I just really feel it's going to kick in. And then it gets good for Kyle Bradish and better for the Orioles. Now, what a crazy weekend in the other dugout and on the other team. They get blown out Friday night. And clearly that was like the final straw. This was probably in the works for days, the firing of Alex Cora, 5 coaches left, including all 3 hitting coaches who kind of took the fall for their bad hitting year. So then they win 17-1, and it happens after that. Which clearly, I think if the game had gone off at 4, maybe they would have done it before. I don't know. Moved to noon. They just couldn't. The logistics didn't work to do everything the way they wanted to do it, I guess. But bizarre weekend, watching Boston media chasing down guys in hotels and writing all kinds of things. And the players today didn't seem really too great about this move. Just reading a few quotes. What did you guys make of the last 24 to 48 hours for the Red Sox?
Go ahead, Tim.
No, I was just going to say it's shocking. It was totally shocking. I couldn't believe it. And look, this was an organization that they entered this season with playoff aspirations, absolutely. But we kind of knew the flaws of this roster, right? The biggest question mark about this roster was the lineup. And I think that they probably put too much pressure on their young guys, and it just hasn't happened for them. But the starting pitching hasn't been as dominant as we thought it would be, because you thought, okay, they're going to pitch themselves into contention, but it just hasn't happened. And they started the season 10-17. I still am shocked that they pulled the plug that early on Alex Cora and 5 other position coaches. That just seems a little rash for me. And I know Breslow, he admitted that, look, I could have done better in building this roster up, but you heard multiple players today really upset with the decision that went down. And I think seeing how it would turn out on the field today, I was sort of thinking it was going to be one way or the other, that they would win big or lose big, talking about the Red Sox. It ended up being a competitive game, of course. But Brad, I can't even imagine what it was like in that dugout. And those guys saying that they didn't really have much input, they didn't really talk to him that much, in terms of how this all went down, I can't even imagine what it was like in that clubhouse today and yesterday.
Yeah, and I thankfully never went through a season where I had the manager fired in the middle of it. And I just remember hearing teammates who had been through it, and they say it's just terrible. It's like you go through all of spring training, you get to the season, and then it's just this seismic earthquake that goes through everything, and it's just really hard to deal with. And I think this is just the beginning of it. I think today they went out there and just played baseball, and it looked fine. But I just think there's too many shockwaves that get sent through that clubhouse I don't know what's going to be said or done here in the weeks ahead. I just can't see this thing ending all that great for the Red Sox.
I can't either, but Brad, like today literally marks 1 month into the season. Like, does this feel way too early?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, like we've talked about for weeks now, that the American League, nobody's running away. So if you believe in your roster a month ago, what has changed so much that you had to fire not just the manager, but 5 other coaches? It's like, I don't really know. I don't know what the expectations were there and how it could change so fast in a month. But obviously the front office saw it differently and they needed a new voice. And I don't know if it's because a lot of these younger guys had played for Chad Tracy and they wanted to see what he could do, as the Toronto Blue Jays did a few years ago with John Schneider. So I don't know if that was their thinking with this whole thing, but yeah, it seems extreme to me to do it now. And I don't know. I guess we'll just have to see where it kind of goes from there for the Red Sox.
And Steve, I was talking with a friend last night. Obviously, something similar happened in Baltimore last year where Brandon Hyde was fired prior to Memorial Day. This beat that timeline by 3 or 4 weeks. And that was a big shock when Brandon Hyde was let go. What was it, May 17th or whatever?
And Tim, via winning percentage, the Red Sox are playing better firing their manager than the Orioles were at the time of Brandon Hyde's firing, which was May 17th. The Orioles were 15-28. That's 349 ball. Cora, April 25th, they were 10-17. That's 370. Trevor Story today pregame told reporters the explanation we got from Craig Breslow and management was not sufficient in terms of what we wanted to know about this. He said it's up in the air what the true direction of the franchise is. Now, fast forward a couple hours after he said that, Oriole reporters are tweeting that while they're waiting to interview Alvarez, the cheering was loud. They could hear it through the wall and in the interview room at Camden Yards from the visiting clubhouse. So they were feeling a lot better a couple hours later. We'll see where it goes from here. I agree with you guys. That was fast. Everything's, I think, ratcheted up in these markets where, Tim, it's almost like life and death every day. And that in Red Sox Nation, that's kind of how they live.
You're definitely right.
Crazy.
Yeah, I the market, and we know how Boston fans are, and they're not exactly very tolerant of slow starts and poor baseball. But even for this, man, this just seems – I would have let this play out at least another month, 2 months. Like 1 month into the season is still just such a small sample size to pull the plug. Yeah. And especially with how much it seems like they ticked off the clubhouse. Like you just – I mean, Orioles fans, I'm sure, hope it ends up being a downward spiral. But, you know, if you're a Red Sox fan, you just hope that this isn't a downward spiral from here and really negatively affect the team even more.
One of the players said, paraphrasing here, management essentially told us it's our job to play ball and make the money and keep our mouth shut. It doesn't seem like the best message because you're all in it together, right? You're not one faction here. You're all one organization. But listen, we're knocking the Red Sox at a time when they just beat the Orioles 2 out of 3. So they get the last laugh this weekend. We'll see where it goes from here. Where we go from here is talking about the Orioles' young catcher who had some beautiful swings today, man. It can't all be negative. We got some stuff that's really fun to talk about coming up.
Big Bad Morning Show, Vinny and Haney, Inside Access, live on YouTube weekdays 6 till 6. Search Baltimore 105.7 The Fan. Subscribe for daily shorts right to your phone and never miss what you missed. 105.7 The Fan.
Yeah, subscribe to Birdland Territory. Follow us on YouTube and all the podcast channels. We're glad you found us and keep finding us. We have 3 shows every week, so we're coming at you often. here on Birdland Territory. Man, I love the swings of Basallo today. 0-2 sweeper down and away, pokes it into left for a single, gets one on the inner half, turns and hits that on the flag court. 9 for 16 his last game, last 5, couple homers. Fun to watch his swing, man, when he's got it going. And I think he's about to get it going, or he already has started with that.
Yeah, I really started to see it in Kansas City. I thought the swings he was taking there were very different than he had been doing a couple weeks before that. He was taking the ball away and hitting it the other side. And for me, when I see a power hitter start doing that, I get a little worried to try to challenge inside, because I know he's willing to take a single the other way, keep the bat in the zone. And when you try to sneak something by him on the inside, he's going to crank it onto the flag court 9 times out of 10, it feels like. So I just really liked his swings in Kansas City, and he started to seem to get a little bit of confidence going too. When we talked about with Adley going down, he got more regular at bats, and I think sometimes that's all it takes. And this, like I said, it might end up being the silver lining of the season, was kind of getting Sam Basallo going, and you're really starting to see it now. He's starting to click, and the swing looks really good.
It's a great point, Brad. You can go back to that crazy extra innings game in Kansas City that the Orioles ended up winning, and Samuel Basallo was the star of the game, not just offensively, where he came up with a game-tying hit in the 9th inning and the go-ahead run in the 12th, but defensively. Just all of those blocks, where that was when Bradish was throwing breaking ball after breaking ball in the dirt, and nothing was getting by Sam. I think he's just playing with so much confidence right now. And something that's so big is I feel like early on in the year, he was pressing and expanding the zone, and you saw the strikeouts really elevated. Well, you can go back to April 12th. He's got 5 strikeouts to 5 walks, 4 home runs since April 12th as well. The batting average is way up, way over 300 in that span. He's really in a nice groove right now.
And the one thing I meant to say on earlier shows was, when you think about a rookie catcher, how much is coming on his plate? He's trying to learn all the pitchers he's getting. He's trying to learn the opposing hitters. Oh yeah, and he's trying to hit at the major league level. Every single one of those aspects is hard enough as it is, but doing all 3 of them for those aspects, whatever is being thrown at him, it's just a lot, and it takes a while for you to finally get your feet under you and get the season going.
Brad, how would it be as a pitcher working with a 21-year-old catcher? And he he's still learning behind the dish as well. But it's funny, you think of a Chris Bassett, for example, who's 37 years old, been there, done that, who's been very complimentary about Sam Basallo when he's pitched to him. How would that be from a pitcher's perspective, working with a rookie catcher?
Yeah, as you get older, you learn some tips and stuff like that. So with the younger catcher, I would just go and have conversations with him. Not even, about baseball, obviously, but other stuff. Just get to know him so he starts to feel comfortable. And you kind of just want to make him feel comfortable with you as a person and a player. So when you get out there, it's kind of, hey, if you got a suggestion, throw it down. If not, I'm going to throw what I know to make you feel the best you can behind the plate. And that's just the way I would go about it. And I'm sure that's what most of the guys are doing. And starters, obviously he's going to catch them a little bit more than relievers. And it's kind of just take that one aspect off his plate. Let him go back there and do what he does, block the pitches, but you call your own game one time. Or, hey, if like next outing, I'm going to go out there and I want to do this. Let's start with this. And then you don't have to worry about me when I come in the game, type thing. If that makes any sense. You just kind of want to take everything you can off a young player's plate, because there's so much going on. And I remember when Caleb Joseph got called up in 2014, his first time up, he's trying to learn all this stuff. And this is before the technology that we had to kind of take all that stuff off his plate. He's learned how to do all this stuff at one point, and we're on a division winning team. So I just remember him going through it, and it gave me a perspective of, I'm going to do everything I can to try to help my teammate out during this process and have him to have one thing less to worry about.
And I'll say 2 things for Basallo, and I've known him a lot, almost since the day they signed him, interviewed him many times, man. His English dramatically has improved over the years. I think that's showing everybody in the Oriole organization. He wants to communicate as effectively he can every day that he can, whether it's media, pitchers, whatever. And last year late, I think he did enough good things to show the staff this guy's not going to be a disaster back here. We heard some things that were, who knows how he's going to be. He wants to do it, and he's working hard. And I he started to win them over then, which gave him a nice jump start for this year. And we'll get into this at a later time because we're running out of time for today. But I want to talk to you guys in a later episode about what his batting average might be. Because when you flick that ball to left for a single like he did, a lot of power hitters don't do that, man. They roll that ball over for a ground out. And I'm not saying he's going to hit 300 because he didn't even do that in the minors. But I'm not saying I think he's going to be better than 225 or something like that. So, I mean, they really got something special here. It's going to be fun to watch him blossom over this season. Guys, nice to end on a high note when the weekend wasn't that for the Orioles. And another edition of Birdland Territory comes almost to an end. So thanks, Tim, and thanks, Brad. We'll see you guys coming up this week. And those fans will see you too. Thanks for joining us today on Birdland Territory.